welcome to your sleep story. I'm so glad you're here tonight. Whatever this day was, however long it felt, however much it carried, it is behind you now, completely behind you. You made it through, and that is everything. So let's begin. Before I take you anywhere tonight, I want to count you down from 10 to 1. And as I count, I want you to allow yourself to sink just a little deeper into wherever you are right now. Feel the weight of your body. Feel what is beneath you, holding you. And with each number, just let go a little more. 10. Allow your eyes to close, gently, completely. There is nothing you need to see right now. 9. Feel your shoulders and let them drop as far as they want to go. 8. A slow breath in through the nose. 7. And all the way out. 6. Your hands. Feel them opening. Whatever you've been holding today, you can put it down now. 5. Your jaw is soft. Your face is soft. 4. Your legs are heavy, warm. 3. You're drifting, not asleep yet, but moving that way. 2. The day is behind you, completely and entirely behind you. 1. And now, tonight's sleep story, the relaxation. Before we go anywhere, I want to stay here with you for a moment. Just here, just now, because this moment, this exact moment right now, where you are lying in the quiet, deserves a little attention, a little kindness. Take a breath in for me, from the very bottom of the belly. Good. And let it go. And as you breathe out, I want you to imagine that everything you were carrying today, every worry, every unfinished thought, every heavy thing is just leaving with that breath, just drifting away. You don't have to solve anything tonight. You don't have to figure anything out. You don't have to be anything other than exactly what you are right now. A person who deserves rest. A person who deserves sleep. Because you do. You really do. Whatever happened today, however hard it felt, however much it carried, you made it through. You are here. And that is enough. That is more than enough. You are safe. And you are here. Bring your awareness gently to your feet now. Just notice them and allow them to soften. The toes uncurling, the arches releasing. All the small held tension of the day simply letting go. Let that softness travel upward, through the calves, through the knees, the thighs. All of it warm, all of it heavy, all of it resting now. Your lower back, your hips. Allow yourself to feel the surface beneath you taking your weight completely, fully. You don't have to hold yourself up anymore. The sea has you. The slow rocking has you. The belly soft. The chest soft. The heart beating steadily as it always has, as it always will. Your shoulders dropping, your arms heavy and warm, your hands open and still, the neck long and loose, and your face, let the jaw go. Let the forehead smooth. Let the eyes be completely still behind their lids. There you are, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, completely soft, completely warm, completely at rest. You've done beautifully. Now, let me take you somewhere. Somewhere the deck lights glow amber against a deep blue dark, and the wake trails white and quiet behind an old steel hull. And a ferry captain who has sailed this same line for 40 years stands watch as his ship carries its few sleeping passengers between islands that have waited patiently in the same sea for thousands of years. Come with me, the harbor at dusk. Imagine a harbor in Greece, not one of the famous ones, not Piraeus, with its enormous ferries and its constant churning crowds. Something smaller, a harbor on one of the lesser-known islands of the Aegean, or the Dodecanese, or the scattered, sun-bleached chain of the Cyclades. An island with perhaps one good road and a handful of villages, and a population that has, for generations, depended on the sea for nearly everything, including its only real connection to the rest of the world. The evening is warm. The light, as the sun lowers toward the water in the west, has turned the particular deep gold that the Greek islands are known for, the whitewashed houses on the hillside above the harbor catching it and holding it, the blue-domed church at the top of the village glowing for a few minutes as though lit from within, the harbor itself, small, a stone breakwater curving out into the bay, a scattering of fishing boats tied along one quay, their hulls painted blue and white, and a faded, sun-worn red, nets folded neatly on their decks, waiting for tomorrow's work. And at the far end of the harbor, where the water is deep enough, the ferry, not large, by the standards of the great car ferries that cross from the mainland, an old vessel, white mostly, though the white has gone slightly gray and streaked with rust along the waterline. The kind of patina that comes only from decades of salt water and decades of careful, unglamorous maintenance. Her name, painted in blue letters along the bow, is one you would not recognize. She has carried passengers and cargo and mail between these scattered islands for longer than most of the people boarding her tonight have been alive. You walk down the quay toward her. Boarding, the gangway creaks slightly underfoot. Metal painted the same tired white as the hull, worn smooth in the center, where countless feet have crossed it before yours. A crewman, young, deeply tanned, his shirt open at the collar against the evening's lingering warmth, nods as you pass, checking tickets with the easy, unhurried efficiency of someone who has done this exact small task perhaps 10,000 times. You step aboard. The deck beneath your feet shifts very slightly, not dramatically, just enough to remind you that you are no longer standing on solid land, that the boundary you have just crossed is a real one. The line between the fixed world of the island and the moving, breathing world of the sea. The smell of the ferry finds you immediately. Diesel first, the particular, not unpleasant smell of a working ship's engine, warm metal and fuel oil. A smell that anyone who has spent time on small Mediterranean ferries comes to associate. almost without realizing it, with departure itself. Salt, the clean, mineral smell of the sea itself, carried on whatever small breeze moves across the open decks. And beneath both of these, rope. Old coiled rope, tarred at the ends, stacked in a corner near the stern. Its smell tarry and faintly sweet, the smell of countless mooring lines thrown and hauled and coiled again across the decades. This ship has been working these waters. You find a place on the upper deck, wooden benches, the varnish worn thin in the places where the most passengers have sat over the years, the grain of the wood showing through in pale streaks. You settle. The ferry's engines, somewhere below, change their notes slightly, a deeper thrum, a small vibration passing up through the deck and into the soles of your feet. The gangway is drawn back. You are leaving. The captain, he is 68 years old. His name is Captain Nikos. He has commanded this particular ferry, or one very like it, on this same island route for 41 years, since he was a young man of 27, taking over the wheelhouse from his own father, who had sailed this same line in an earlier vessel for nearly 30 years before that. He stands now in the wheelhouse, a small raised cabin near the bow, its windows salt-streaked despite the crew's daily efforts to keep them clear. The wood of the wheel itself, worn dark and smooth by 4 decades of his own hands and his father's hands before him. He is not a large man. He has the build of someone who has spent a working life standing in small spaces, balancing against a moving deck, a kind of compact, settled steadiness that comes only from decades of exactly this work. He knows this stretch of sea the way Lorenz knows his garden, the way Merwin knows her fleece, not from charts alone, though he has charts, old ones, annotated in his father's handwriting and his own, layered across decades of small corrections and observations. From the water itself, he knows where the current runs faster between certain islands, where a particular reef lies just beneath the surface and must be given a wide and respectful distance, where the wind funnels unexpectedly through a gap between 2 headlands and can catch an inattentive helmsman by surprise, even on an otherwise calm night. He knows the stars that will be overhead at each point of tonight's crossing, has known them so long that he could likely steer this route by their position alone, the way captains did for thousands of years before any other navigation existed. Tonight's crossing is a quiet one, a small number of passengers, a calm sea, a clear sky, the moon not yet risen, the stars beginning to gather in their full Aegean brightness as the last color drains from the western horizon. He guides the ferry out past the breakwater into open water and sets her course. The islands ahead are waiting, as they always have. The wake. Look back for a moment at the water behind the ship. The wake. A long, pale, slowly widening ribbon of disturbed water trailing from the stern, phosphorescent very faintly in places where the propeller's churning has stirred tiny bioluminescent organisms into a brief, ghostly glow. A soft blue-green shimmer that appears and fades and appears again in the broken water, like something between starlight and dream. The wake spreads, wider and wider behind the moving ship, the disturbance gradually settling, smoothing, until far enough back it has rejoined the sea's own undisturbed surface entirely. The ferry's passage already healed over, the water giving no permanent sign that anything at all has passed through it. This has always struck thoughtful passengers. Across all the decades, this ferry has sailed as a particular kind of beauty. The boat moves, the wake follows, briefly visible, briefly luminous, and then the sea simply closes over the passage, exactly as it was before, patient and unmarked, ready for the next ship, the next wake, the next brief disturbance in its vast and ancient stillness. Captain Nikos has watched this wake form behind his ship, perhaps 15,000 times across 41 years. He still finds it beautiful. He has never tired of glancing back on a calm, clear night like tonight, to see the pale water trailing away behind him, glowing faintly, where the propeller has stirred the smallest living things in the sea into their brief, soft light. The open deck. You are settled on the upper deck. The wooden bench beneath you. The warm evening air moving gently across your skin as the ferry gathers speed. The island you departed is shrinking behind you now, its harbor lights beginning to separate into individual points. The church dome no longer visible at all, swallowed into the general darkening shape of the hillside. Ahead, nothing yet, just the dark, open sea, and somewhere beyond the visible horizon, the next island, and the one after that, the long chain of stops this ferry will make before dawn. The sound of the ferry itself, the engines steady, a low, continuous thrum that you feel as much as hear, transmitted up through the deck and into your own body, into the wooden bench beneath you, into your bones in a way that becomes, after the first few minutes, strangely soothing, a mechanical heartbeat, utterly reliable, utterly constant. The water against the hull, a steady rushing hiss, layered beneath the engine's thrum, the sound of the bow parting the sea, and the sea closing again behind it, over and over, mile after open mile. And the wind, gentle tonight, a Mediterranean evening breeze, carrying the smell of salt, and faintly, still, the herbal dryness of the island you have just left, thyme and rosemary growing wild on its hillsides, their scent somehow still reaching you even this far out, carried on whatever last currents of land, ere the departing ferry has not yet fully outrun. You breathe it in. You feel your shoulders drop another small measure. The ferry rocks very gently with the sea's own slow rhythm, not dramatically, not unsettlingly, simply the soft, continuous side-to-side motion of a vessel moving steadily through calm open water, a motion that, given enough minutes to adjust to it, becomes almost like being rocked, way a parent rocks a child, patient and rhythmic, and entirely without urgency. The sleeping PASSNGRS. Look around the deck for a moment at your fellow travelers, an elderly couple near the stern, wrapped in the same worn wool blanket, her head resting against his shoulder, both of them already asleep. The particular easy sleep of people who have made this same crossing so many times across so many years that the gentle rocking and the engine's thrum have become, for them, simply the sound and feeling of going home or going away, or both at once. A young woman near the bow rail, her backpack beside her, awake still but quiet, watching the dark water pass, her face turned toward whatever thoughts a long ferry crossing at night tends to draw out of a person. The kind of unhurried, expansive thinking that rarely has room to occur during the bright, busy hours of an ordinary day. A father with two small children, both already fast asleep across his lap, his arm around them both, his own eyes heavy, fighting the same gentle pull of the rocking deck that has already claimed his children. A few crates of cargo, lashed carefully near the stern, fresh produce, perhaps, or supplies bound for one of the smaller islands ahead. The kind of essential, unglamorous freight that ferries like this one have carried for generations. The island's lifeline as much as their passenger service. This ferry tonight carries perhaps 30 people in total, most of them sleeping or close to it. A small, floating, quietly breathing community, suspended for these few hours between one island and the next, held together by nothing more than this old steel hull and the steady hand of a captain who has done this exact crossing more times than he could possibly count. The wheelhouse. Let us go forward now to the small wheelhouse where Captain Nikos stands his watch. It is a simple space, a wooden wheel, worn smooth and dark by decades of hands, a compass in its brass housing, the needle swinging very slightly with each small correction of the ship's heading, settling always back toward the same steady course. Charts folded and layered on a small shelf beneath the windows, official charts printed by the Hellenic Navy's Hydrographic Service, annotated here and there in pencil, with small personal notes in Nikos's own careful hand, and in places in his father's older, slightly different hand. 2 generations of careful observation layered onto the same printed lines. A radio, crackling occasionally with brief, businesslike exchanges between this ferry and the small handful of other vessels moving through these waters tonight. A fishing boat checking in with the Coast Guard. Another ferry on a different route reporting its position. The ordinary, unremarkable traffic of working boats going about their working nights, and a single lamp, small, shaded, casting just enough warm light to read the compass and the charts without ruining the night vision that Nikos relies on to watch the dark water ahead. He stands at the wheel. His hands rest lightly on it, not gripping tightly, simply resting, way a confident rider's hands rest on the reins of a horse that knows the way home. Small corrections, now and then, a degree or two as the current shifts, as a small swell passes beneath the hull and nudges the bow slightly off its line. He corrects without thinking about it, the way breathing happens without thinking about it, the way Merwin's hands draft wool without conscious calculation, the way Anton's ear catches the change in his mound's voice before his mind has fully registered why. 41 years. His hands simply know this wheel. The stars over the Aegean, above the wheelhouse, above the whole ship. The sky has gone fully dark now. The last gold and rose of sunset long since drained from the western horizon. The Aegean sky, far from any large city, on a clear, calm night like this one, offers a clarity of stars that few people who have only known city skis have ever experienced. The Milky Way, visible as a true, pale band stretching across the darkness, dense with countless individual points of light too faint and too numerous to separate with the naked eye. Simply a soft, glowing river of stars from one horizon to the other. The familiar constellations, for anyone who knows to look for them. Cassiopeia low in the north, the great square of Pegasus rising in the east, the bright, unmistakable line of stars that ancient Greek sailors, navigating these exact waters in exact ships, not so different in spirit from this one, used for their own crossings between exactly these same islands, thousands of years before Captain Nikos or his father or his father's father ever stood at any wheel. This is one of the things Nikos thinks about, sometimes on quiet crossings like tonight's. Not constantly, not in any heavy or self-conscious way, but as a kind of background awareness that surfaces now. And then, during the long, quiet hours of a night watch, he is doing, tonight, essentially the same thing that sailors have done in these same waters for thousands of years, moving people and cargo between islands, watching the same stars wheel slowly overhead, trusting the same currents and winds, more or less, modified now by an engine instead of oar and sail, but governed still by the same ancient, unchanging geography of this particular sea. He finds this thought comforting. In a quiet way, he has never tried very hard to put into precise words. He is part of something very long. The engine room, below decks, in the warm, all-smelling dark of the engine room, a younger crewman named Demetrius makes his own periodic rounds, checking gauges, listening, the way Anton once listened to his charcoal mound, for any change in the engine's steady working note that might signal trouble before trouble becomes serious. The diesel engines themselves are not young. Rebuilt more than once across the Ferry's working life, certain parts replaced with newer components, but the basic engines themselves decades old, maintained with the same patient, unglamorous care that keeps so many of the old working vessels of the Greek islands running long past when newer, less personally tended ships might have been retired. Demetrius has worked this engine room for 6 years now, learning gradually from the ship's older engineer, a man named Yannis, who has, in turn, worked this same engine room for nearly 30 years, who learned it himself from an even older engineer before him. The chain of careful hands passed down, exactly as it has passed down through every other craft you have visited on these journeys. The engines run steadily. Their sound down here is far louder than it is up on deck. A deep, continuous mechanical roar that Demetrius and Yannis have long since learned to filter into something almost like silence. Their ears tuned instead to the much subtler sounds layered within that roar, the particular note that would signal a bearing wearing thin, a belt beginning to slip, anything at all that deviates from the engine's normal, healthy working voice. Tonight, the engines sound exactly as they should. Demetrius makes a small note in the engine log, the same kind of careful, specific record that Anton kept in his charcoal notebook, that Henry Belek kept of his perfumes, that Farouk kept of his hammams, small daily observations. All systems normal, smooth sea, steady course. He climbs back up toward the open air, glad, as he always is after time in the engine room's heat and noise, of the cool night breeze waiting for him on deck. The galley, near the stern, a small galley serves what little food and drink the late crossing requires, mostly coffee, strong and dark in the Greek style, and a few simple snacks for passengers who did not eat before boarding. The woman who runs this small galley, Despina, has worked this ferry for nearly 20 years, ever since her husband, who once crewed alongside Nikos, passed away and left her needing some steady way to support herself and her 2 children, both grown now and living on the mainland. She makes the coffee the old way, in a small brass bricky, the grounds and sugar and water brought together and heated slowly, never boiled too hard, poured carefully into small cups so as to leave the thick grounds settled at the bottom, exactly as her own mother taught her to make it decades ago, on a different island entirely, in a kitchen Despina has not seen in person for many years, but still pictures clearly whenever she makes this same coffee. Tonight, only 1 or 2 passengers have wanted coffee. She makes it anyway, with the same unhurried care she would give to a much larger order, because this is simply how she makes coffee, regardless of how many cups are needed. She carries it out to the deck herself, rather than calling the passenger over, because the small effort of walking the swaying, gently rolling deck has never bothered her in 2 decades of doing it. And because she likes, in a quiet way she has never examined too closely, this brief small interaction with whoever happens to be awake and wanting something warm during these late, quiet hours. She delivers the coffee. She exchanges a few soft words about the calm sea tonight, about which island the passenger is traveling to. The easy, unhurried small talk of people who share, for this one crossing, the same small floating world. Then she returns to her galley to wait for whoever might want something next. The islands passing in the dark. From the open deck, every so often, the dark shape of an island passes at a distance. Not a stop on tonight's route, simply a landmass the ferry's course happens to skirt, visible only as a deeper black shape against the slightly less dark sky. Perhaps a single light or two showing where some small fishing village clings to its shore. Each of these passing islands has its own long history, its own small population going about its own quiet life, completely independent of this ferry or its sleeping passengers. Some are inhabited by only a handful of families, herding goats on terraced hillsides, exactly as their ancestors did for thousands of years. Some are entirely uninhabited, visited only occasionally by fishermen seeking shelter from sudden weather, or by the wild goats themselves, descendants of animals brought by humans centuries ago, and since left to their own devices on these small, rocky, wind-scoured outcrops. This part of the Aegean has been crossed by ships for longer than written history can fully account for. The Minoans sailed here, and the Mycenaeans after them, and the classical Greeks, and the Byzantines, and Venetian traders, and Ottoman fleets, and now small modern ferries like this one, carrying islanders and tourists and cargo between the same scattered pieces of land that have always needed, in one way or another, to be connected by sea. Captain Nikos thinks of this sometimes too, watching a dark island pass at a comfortable distance off the port side. So many ships, across so many centuries, have passed this exact same shape in the darkness. He is only the latest in a very long line. He finds in this thought not insignificance, but something closer to belonging. A small conversation. Near midnight, the young woman who had been sitting awake at the bow rail makes her way back toward the small galley, drawn by the smell of Despina's coffee. They talk for a few minutes, quietly, easily, the kind of brief, unguarded conversation that sometimes happens between strangers in the particular suspended hours of a late-night crossing, when ordinary social caution relaxes a little under the spell of darkness and gentle motion, and the shared, temporary intimacy of being awake together while most of the world sleeps. The young woman is traveling to visit her grandmother on a small island 3 stops further along tonight's route, an island she has not visited in several years. Her grandmother, now elderly and increasingly frail. The visit carrying a weight of unspoken urgency that the young woman has not quite put into words, even to herself. Despina listens. She does not offer advice, particularly. Simply a quiet, attentive presence, a fresh cup of coffee, the small comfort of being heard by someone who has, in her own way, crossed this same stretch of sea, carrying her own quiet griefs and worries more times than she could count. After a while, the young woman thanks her and returns to her place at the rail, a little lighter, perhaps, for having spoken a few of her worries aloud to someone who simply listened without needing to solve anything. This happens often on this ferry, on countless nights across countless years. Small unburdenings, brief, temporary companionships between strangers who will likely never see each other again after tonight, but who, for this one crossing, share something real and gentle and entirely without obligation. The sea seems to invite this kind of honesty. It always has. The middle of the crossing. The ferry has been at sea for several hours now. The harbor you departed from is long out of sight, and the next stop on tonight's route is still some time away. This is the deepest part of the journey, the middle hours, when the ferry is furthest from any shore, surrounded on all sides by open dark water, the only lights visible being the ship's own running lamps, the soft amber glow from the wheelhouse and the galley, and very occasionally the distant lights of another vessel crossing somewhere far off on its own separate course. The sea at this hour is utterly calm, not a true flat calm. There is always some small swell, some gentle underlying movement to the open, Aegean even on the quietest nights, but calm enough that the ferry's motion has settled into something almost hypnotic, a slow, steady, predictable rocking that most of the sleeping passengers have long since stopped consciously noticing at all, their bodies simply accepting and moving with it the way a sleeping body accepts and moves with the slow rhythm of its own breathing. Captain Nikos has handed the wheel briefly to his first officer, a steady, capable woman named Maria, who has sailed with him for over a decade now, and who will, he privately believes, though he has never told her so directly, make an excellent captain herself one day, on this route or another. He steps out onto the small platform just outside the wheelhouse for a few minutes, into the night air, looking out at the dark water and the stars and the faint shapes of distant islands. He breathes 41 years of these night crossings, and he has never once tired of this particular moment. The middle of an open water passage, the ship steady, the sea calm, the stars wheeling slowly overhead exactly as they have wheeled over every single one of his crossings, exactly as they wheeled over every sailor who ever crossed these waters before him. He stands for a while, then he returns to the wheelhouse, takes back the wheel from Maria with a small nod of thanks, and continues the watch. The sound of the open sea, AT night. Let me stay with you here, in this quiet middle stretch of the crossing, and simply listen. The engines, steady, continuous, a low mechanical thrum felt as much through the body as heard through the ears. The heartbeat of this old working ship, the water against the hull, a constant, soft rushing hiss, rising and falling very slightly with each small swell the bow passes through. The same essential sound, more or less, that every ship moving through open water has made since the first hollowed log was first pushed out from some ancient shore. The wind, gentle tonight, barely more than the ship's own forward motion, stirring the air across the deck, carrying salt and the faint, lingering memory of dry island herbs from some shore now far behind. The rigging, what little of it an engine-powered ferry like this one still carries. A few cables and lines, humming very faintly in the moving air. A thin, high, almost musical note beneath the deeper sounds of engine and water. And very occasionally, a sound from one of the sleeping passengers nearby. A soft shift of weight on a wooden bench. A quiet exhale. The small, unconscious sounds of people resting easily, trusting this old ship and its steady captain to carry them safely through the dark hours toward wherever they are going. This is the sound of a calm night crossing, ancient in its essential elements: water, wind, the structure of a vessel moving steadily forward, modern only in the particular mechanical note of the diesel engines that have replaced sail and oar, but have not replaced the fundamental experience itself, the experience of trusting your safety for a few quiet hours to the sea and to the skill of whoever stands the watch. What the sea, TEACHES, Captain Nikos has thought across 41 years of exactly these kinds of quiet night watches about what this work has taught him. The sea teaches patience first, the way every craft you have encountered on these journeys eventually teaches patience to whoever practices it long enough and carefully enough. You cannot rush a crossing. You can choose a slightly faster or slower speed within the limits of the engines and the fuel and the schedule. But the fundamental distance between one island and the next does not change, and the sea itself, indifferent to anyone's timetable, will take exactly as long as it takes to carry a ship safely from one point to another. The sea also teaches respect. Nikos has seen across 4 decades what happens to captains and ships that forget, even briefly, that the sea is larger and older and more powerful than any vessel that crosses it, no matter how skillfully handled. He has weathered storms in his younger years that taught him this lesson more thoroughly than any classroom instruction ever could have. He does not fear the sea exactly, but he has never once, in 41 years, taken it for granted. And the sea teaches something about the particular value of steady, unglamorous attention. Most crossings, like tonight's, involve nothing dramatic at all. Calm water, clear skies, a steady course, small corrections, the ordinary, repetitive watchfulness of a captain doing exactly what he has done, perhaps 15,000 times before. But it is precisely this patient, undramatic attention, maintained consistently, night after night, year after year, without ever growing careless simply because nothing dramatic has happened recently. That keeps a ship and its sleeping passengers safe across decades of crossings. Nikos has never said any of this aloud, in quite these words, to anyone, but he has felt it, standing at this same wheel, on this same kind of calm, clear night, more times than he could possibly count. The first island stop, ahead finally, After several hours of open water, a cluster of lights appears on the dark horizon, the next island on tonight's route. Its small harbor beginning to resolve as the ferry draws closer into individual points of light along a curving shore. Captain Nikos slows the engines. The change in their note, from the steady cruising thrum to something gentler, more careful, wakes a few of the sleeping passengers. The elderly couple near the stern stirring, the father with his 2 children shifting slightly as the ship's motion changes beneath them. The approach to harbor at night requires its own particular skill, judging distance and speed in darkness, trusting the small navigation lights along the breakwater and the harbor's own dim shore lights, bringing this large steel vessel gently alongside a stone quay with no more than a few feet of clearance. A maneuver that still, after 41 years, requires Nikos's full and careful attention. He brings her in smoothly, a soft bump against the worn rubber, fenders along the quay, lines thrown caught, made fast by waiting hands on the dock. A handful of passengers gather their bags and disembark. The young woman traveling to see her grandmother among them, pausing for a moment at the gangway to look back, briefly, at the galley where Despina has come out to see the departing passengers off. The 2 of them exchanging a small, warm nod, an acknowledgement of the brief, real companionship they shared during the crossing's quiet middle hours. A small amount of new cargo comes aboard. A few new passengers, sleepy-eyed, settling onto benches recently vacated. Within 10 minutes, the lines are cast off again. The engines return to their steady cruising note, and the ferry continues on into the dark water toward the next island and the one after that. The rhythm of the night route. This is the particular rhythm of tonight's crossing, and of countless crossings like it across this ferry's long working life. Open water, a harbor, a brief pause, lines thrown, passengers exchanged, cargo shifted, open water again, repeated several times across the full length of this overnight route. Each small island stop bringing its own brief flurry of activity before the ferry slips back out into the dark. Quiet sea between stops. Most passengers sleep through several of these stops entirely, undisturbed by the brief change in engine note, the soft bump of arrival, the muffled voices on the dock. Their bodies have learned, the way bodies learn most things eventually, to distinguish between the changes that require waking and the changes that do not. And a routine harbor stop, handled by a captain as skilled and familiar with this route as Nikos, requires nothing at all from a sleeping passenger except continued, trusting rest. This is, in its way, one of the small gifts this old ferry offers its passengers. Night after night, year after year, the chance to sleep through an entire sea crossing, trusting completely in the steady hands of people you will likely never properly meet. A captain at his wheel, an engineer below decks, a galley worker pouring coffee for whoever is awake to want it. And to wake, hours later, somewhere entirely new, having done nothing yourself except rest. The second half of the night, the hours pass, more open water. Another small island stop, briefer than the first, just a handful of passengers, and a small amount of cargo exchanged before the ferry continues on. The night has deepened into its truest, stillest hours now. Somewhere past 2 in the morning, the moon finally risen, a thin, waning crescent low in the eastern sky, casting just enough additional light to silver the edges of the gentle swells passing beneath the hull. Captain Nikos has been at the wheel, on and off, with brief rests handed over to Maria for the entire crossing so far, and will continue this same pattern until dawn brings them, finally, to the route's final stop. His own home island, the harbor where his small house waits, where his wife will have left a light on in the kitchen window, as she has done for every single one of his 41 years of these night crossings. He thinks of her sometimes during these quiet middle hours. Her name is Eleni. She has never minded the strange schedule of a ferry captain's life. The nights spent at sea, the days spent sleeping, while the rest of the world is awake. The particular rhythm that an entire family learns to live around when one of its members works a route like this one. She will be asleep when he finally gets home most mornings, but she always leaves the kitchen light on anyway. A small, steady signal visible from the water as the ferry makes its final approach. The same light that has welcomed him home after every single crossing for over 4 decades. He looks forward to seeing it tonight, the way he has looked forward to it on every other night, without exception, for 41 years. The quiet hours, the remaining hours of the crossing pass in their own steady, unhurried way. A few more small island stops, each one brief, each one practiced and familiar. The passengers continue their mixture of sleep and quiet wakefulness, some dozing through the entire night, others stirring occasionally to look out at a passing island or to accept a fresh cup of Despina's coffee. The small community of this floating night world continuing its own gentle rhythm, indifferent in its way to the hour. Content simply to be carried steadily forward through the dark toward wherever each person is going. The stars continue their slow wheel overhead. The same patient astronomical clock that has marked these crossings for as long as anyone has sailed this particular stretch of sea. The wake continues trailing behind the ship, pale and faintly luminous in the calm dark water, heeling over almost as quickly as it forms. The sea's vast, ancient surface absorbing this one small ship's passage with the same patient indifference it has shown to every vessel that has ever crossed it. Captain Nikos stands his watch. His hands rest lightly on the worn wooden wheel. His eyes move by long habit between the dark water ahead, the compass, the faint shapes of distant islands, the small handful of instruments that tell him everything he needs to know about his ship's steady, reliable progress through this calm and quiet night. He is exactly where he has been, in one sense, for 41 years. Steady, watchful, at peace, the final approach, as the eastern sky begins, very slowly, to lighten. Not yet true dawn, just the faintest suggestion of gray easing into the deep blue-black of the night. The ferry approaches its final stop of the route, Nikos' own home island. He has made this exact final approach perhaps 15,000 times across 41 years. And yet, he still watches for the familiar shape of the headland with something like quiet anticipation. The dark hillside gradually resolving into a shape he could draw from memory in perfect detail. The small lighthouse at its point, blinking its slow, patient rhythm, exactly as it has blinked every single night of his entire working life. The harbor lights appear, fewer than the harbor he departed from many hours ago. This is a smaller island, quieter, most of its small population still asleep at this hour. Only the earliest fishermen beginning to stir, preparing their own boats for the day's work, as Nikos prepares to bring his own vessel in for what amounts, for him, to the end of a working night. And there, a single lit window on the hillside above the harbor, distinguishable even at this distance from the handful of other lights scattered across the dark slope. His own kitchen window, Eleni's light. He feels the same small, steady warmth he has felt at the sight of that window. After every one of his 41 years of crossings, he guides the ferry in. The engines slow, the familiar quay approaches, the familiar fenders, the familiar hands waiting on the dock to catch the lines. A soft bump, arrival, the last PASSNGRS. The remaining passengers gather their things and disembark into the cool, pre-dawn air of this small, quiet island. The elderly couple, finally waking fully after sleeping through most of the crossing, gather their shared blanket and make their slow way down the gangway, supporting each other gently, clearly people who have made this exact journey home together many times before. The father carries his two still sleeping children, one in each arm, down to the waiting quay, where, presumably, some other family member waits to help him carry them the rest of the way home. The children themselves likely to remain asleep through this final small stage of their own journey, waking only properly in their own beds. Hours later, with no memory at all of the ferry crossing that carried them here, Despina finishes cleaning her small galley, the last of the night's coffee cups washed and stacked, ready for tomorrow's crossing. Dimitris and Yannis complete their final engine room checks. The diesel engines finally allowed to rest after their long night's steady work, and Captain Nikos, his watch finally complete, hands the ferry over to the small dock crew, who will secure her properly for the remaining hours before her next scheduled departure, and makes his own way down the gangway onto the quiet quay toward the hillside path that leads, eventually, to his own front door, and his own waiting kitchen light. What waits at home? The walk up from the harbor is short. Nico's has made it on tired legs after countless night crossings, and his feet know every turn of the path without requiring much conscious attention from the rest of him. The air smells of the island itself in these pre-dawn hours. Thyme and wild oregano on the dry hillside, the lingering salt smell carried up from the harbor below, the particular cool freshness of an Aegean morning, not yet touched by the day's coming heat. He reaches his own gate, his own small whitewashed house, modest, like most homes on this island, built generations ago by people who understood. The way builders on every Greek island have always understood exactly how to construct something that would stay cool through brutal summer heat and hold what warmth it could through the brief, mild winters. The kitchen window glows softly, exactly as he knew it would, exactly as it always does. He lets himself in quietly, not wanting to wake Eleni, though she often half wakes anyway at the familiar sound of his key in the door, murmuring some soft greeting before drifting back toward sleep. He sits for a few minutes at the small kitchen table, in the warm light of the lamp she has left burning for him, simply resting, the long night's watch finally completely behind him. Then he too will sleep through the bright hours of the day, while the rest of the island goes about its business, his own rest as essential and as well earned as any of the sleeping passengers he carried safely through the night just past. The ferry AT rest. Down at the harbor, the old ferry rests now at her quay, her engines silent for the first time in many hours, her decks empty of passengers, the wooden benches where so many people slept through the long crossing, now holding only the pale gathering light of approaching dawn. The galley is clean and ready for tomorrow. The engine room is quiet, the great diesel engines cooling slowly after their long night's work. The wheelhouse stands empty, the worn wooden wheel motionless, the charts folded neatly on their shelf, waiting for Nikos' return this evening, when the whole patient cycle will begin again. Another harbor, another loading of passengers and cargo, another night's careful crossing between these same scattered islands that have waited in this same sea for thousands of years, and will, in all likelihood, continue waiting for thousands more. The wake she left behind, hours ago now, across every stretch of open water she crossed tonight, has long since healed over completely, the sea's surface giving no sign at all this morning that anything passed through it in the darkness. This is the nature of the sea, and in its way, the nature of this ship's quiet service to the islands it connects. Necessary, unglamorous, continuing, night after night, year after year, largely unnoticed by the wider world, but utterly essential to the small, scattered communities that depend on it. You are drifting. You are still aboard, in a sense, or somewhere very like it. The gentle rocking continuing beneath you, the engine's steady thrum still present in your bones, the salt air still soft against your skin. The stars still wheel slowly overhead. The wake still trails pale and luminous behind you, healing over as quickly as it forms. Captain Nikos still stands his quiet watch, his hands resting lightly on the worn wooden wheel, guiding this old ship safely through the dark, exactly as he has done for 41 years, exactly as he will continue doing for as long as his strength allows. All of it here, all of it holding you. Your breathing has settled into the same patient rhythm as the sea itself, slow, steady, requiring no effort, simply continuing, wave after gentle wave, exactly the way it is meant to. This is what a night crossing like this one offers, if you allow yourself to receive it, even only in imagination, even only for this one quiet hour before your own sleep arrives. The chance to be carried, to trust completely in hands steadier and more practiced than your own, and to rest fully while that trust does its quiet work. You do not need to watch the water tonight. You do not need to check the stars or correct the course or worry about the hours remaining before arrival. You can simply rest the way every sleeping passenger on this old ferry has rested across countless nights, trusting the steady hands at the wheel, trusting the patient, ancient sea itself to carry them gently toward wherever they are meant to go. The last things, the ferry rests at her quay, silent, her work for the night complete. The harbor is quiet, the first pale light of dawn just beginning to touch the eastern sky. Captain Nikos sits at his own kitchen table, in the warm light of his wife's waiting lamp, his long watch finally, completely behind him. Despina's galley is clean and ready. Dimitris and Yannis have finished their checks. The great engines cooling slowly in the quiet engine room. The wooden benches on the upper deck, where so many passengers slept through the long crossing, stand empty now in the gathering light, waiting for tonight's passengers and the night after that, and all the nights to come. The wake from tonight's crossing has long since healed into the sea's calm, undisturbed surface. The stars are fading now, one by one, as the sky continues its slow brightening toward true dawn. The islands, scattered across this ancient sea, continue resting in their own quiet way, each one holding its small sleeping population, each one waiting, as it has always waited, for the next ferry, the next crossing, the next small, steady connection to the rest of the world. The sea itself continues, vast and patient, and entirely unconcerned with the passage of any single night, exactly as it has continued since long before there were ships at all to cross it. The ferry rests at her quay. Her engines are silent. Her decks are empty. The benches wait for tonight's passengers. Captain Nikos is home. His wife's lamp is warm in the kitchen window. Despina's galley is clean. The coffee cups are stacked and ready. The engine room is quiet, cooling slowly after the long night's work. The charts are folded on their shelf, waiting for this evening's crossing. The wake has healed into the calm sea. No sign remains that any ship passed through it. The stars are fading, one by one, as the sky brightens toward dawn. The islands rest in the gathering light, each one waiting, as it always waits, for the next ferry, the next crossing, the next small connection across the water. You are held tonight too, by this same patient sea, by this same steady, practiced watch, by the trust that lets you rest completely while someone else minds the course. You are safe, you are warm, you are held on the water, among the islands, in the deep, calm, star-filled dark. The sea will carry you gently, all through the night, and you can simply rest. Good night, dear friend. Sleep well, sleep deeply. Good night.